Boom, 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 boom. Periscope, why are you always so hard to work with? No? That's weird.
Okay, Patreons are red now. I still have no commercials.
All right, give me a second to look at that.
Copy.
There we go. We should be live up on Twitch now. I cannot get Periscope to go, but that's fine. All right, Rundown Creator. Hello, Internet. You should be with us now.
Yep.
All right, you said no commercials, Dada?
Nie, to jest wciąż to samo. Bez sensu.
Ale zauważcie, że tutaj się to nie wydarzyło nie razu, fakt, żebyś...
Tak, ale tutaj mają... Gdzie masz to?
Video.
That seems good right there.
Ale nie mamy...
A tu mam mikrofon. Ja nie mam dalej.
Tak, tam coś mi...
A to.
A może przypiąć mikrofon tylko.
A
masz mikrofon?
dwuswitchowa to...
No dwuswitchowa, to przypniesz mikrofon.
Dobra.
Może.
Dada, reload your rundown, see if that fixed at least no launches. That bring up the calendar?
Yep.
Okay, so, and the other break didn't come up either? Or is it just calendar that didn't come up?
Didn't come up either.
Okay, so that's commercial on that one. Man, this show's fighting me today. All right.
Sorry for all the technical difficulties.
All right, just so you all know, we are now live to the internet, so anything you say, the entire world can now hear. So,
Oh, you're also fine.
be aware of that. All right, we're about to start the show. Did you have any last questions before we begin? I'll take that as a no. No final questions on your side, guys?
No, thanks.
All right, cool. So the way the show is going to work, we've got a news and launches segment up first. We're going to go through that segment. We're going to take a quick break. We'll go to a commercial. It's going to be about launches. There are no launches this coming week scheduled. And then when we come back, we'll be live interviewing you guys, kind of bouncing between you and then the astronauts themselves. So, all right, I did not crash record. Other than that, Dada, are you ready now? Says file name.
Yeah, Mom is
All
okay.
right.
What did you do?
I mean, we can do it out of order if you think that's better.
No, I don't.
To na Wi-Fi? No. Tam jest
Jesteś tylko na Wi-Fi jesteśmy.
Try again, Dada.
Jesteśmy na Wi-Fi.
And the internet can see us, and the internet's happy, right? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Promo, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
To się nie uda.
Ciekawe położenie mnie tam.
Yeah. All right. It has connection again, so let me hit record.
Dobra, no w takim razie...
Co to czas?
Nie.
Co?
Welcome to the conversation. I'm Carrie Ann, and I'll be your host in this first segment. I, of course, am joined by Jared, our resident astronomer, as well as Mike, our rocket specialist. We're going to be definitely making him dance today. And then, of course, I've got Dada behind us, who was going to be producing the show. Now, today in news, we have...
Dwarf planets and planets, oh my. And lots of rocket launches.
Oh, it's so good. And in the second segment, Ben is going to be discussing the Icarus 1, which is the analog Mars mission, with questions submitted by you guys, which is going to be really cool. And then, of course, we're going to round out the show with comments from last week's show. This, of course, is Tomorrow Orbit 10.38.
Good morning. How's everything up in the sky?
I want to make sure at the top of the show I give a huge thank you to our Patreon supporters. We have the Escape Velocity variety here. They get their name in the show in all 3 segments. They get exclusive access to Patreon-only hangouts and so very much more. There are so many things, not even enough time to list this all. This is going to be a long enough show the way it is, so I'm going to just try and keep this short. If you are interested in any of these things, like getting your name in the show, or others, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. Okay, so we're going to do things a little bit differently because there are so many rocket launches. How many are there? There are so many rocket launches that we're going to make Mike dance for a little bit, and then we're going to make Jared dance for a little bit. So you get a rest.
I'll take a break
for just a moment.
A bit.
Yeah, of course.
Oh wait.
I know. He'll come back. I know he's sulking in the corner now. That's fine. So Mike, we figured we would do these chronologically, right? Is that what was the decision?
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So
yeah, that's right. There were 6 launches this week. 3 of them happened on the same day, which was Monday of this last week. So yeah, let's get started with the first one that happened on Monday, I
right
guess.
On.
Which
Take us away.
Was the return to flight of the Long March 2D.
De la preparación del inicio, ahí va a dar inicio, acaba de despegar.
1分14秒，45毫秒。
This was a Long March 2D rocket that was launching a Venezuelan Earth observation satellite. That's why we had this Venezuelan commentary there. And this launch took place at 4:13 Coordinated Universal Time from the Jiuquan Space Center in the Gobi Desert in northwest China. Now, the 2-stage rocket successfully placed the VRSS-2 spacecraft, or the Venezuelan Remote Sensing Satellite, into orbit, and it also has the nickname of Antonio Jose de Sucre. Now, U.S. military tracking data confirmed that the payload was placed into an orbit around 400 kilometers, or rather 400 miles and 645 kilometers in a sun-synchronous orbit. And that was placed successfully. And congratulations to China, who had had a launch mishap with the Long March 2D a couple of months back. So this was kind of the return to flight of that particular type of Long March rocket. So congratulations to everyone who was involved with this rocket launch, even though it's a bit ironic now considering the Venezuelan crisis at the moment. But in any case, this should help with emergency responders and lots of different Earth observation data that they will be able to collect for their country.
Good, yeah, and it's always nice to see people applauding at that sort of thing. So yeah, congrats to them on that. That's very, very cool. All right, so then the next one up is Iridium Next. This is really cool. This is SpaceX launch, right?
That's right, yeah. This was one of 2 SpaceX launches this week. Holy cow. And this was the second launch that occurred on Monday, October 9th. So, yeah, let's check this out.
3, 2, 1.
Now, this launch occurred at 12:37 Coordinated Universal Time from Space Launch Complex 4E at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. And with this, a few minutes into the flight, the new Falcon 9 first stage booster was able to land successfully on the Pacific drone ship Just Read the Instructions. This was not only a successful landing, but it was the 17th successful landing overall and the 10th landing at sea. So that's awesome to see. Very cool to see. But the payload for this mission, the primary reason for this mission, was 10 of the Iridium Next satellites. This was the 3rd batch of 10 Iridium Next satellites launched by SpaceX, and they were successfully placed into a circular 625-kilometer orbit, a sun-synchronous orbit that was, for those of you in the United States, about 388 miles up. And although they do have slightly, or will have slightly different inclinations from each other over time, they were deployed one at a time. We didn't get to see all of the deployments visible on camera, but the ones that we did get get to see looked awesome. There was even an accidental solid oxygen secondary payload that you'll see here in just a second, which I thought was just hilarious that we got to see that break off right there.
Whoops.
Oh, man. But the primary mission, in all seriousness, was successful, and Iridium confirmed that they had that all 10 spacecraft were healthy. So congratulations to everyone who was able to make this launch successful.
Yeah, quite. And Jared, this is one that you went up for as well, correct?
Yeah, this is my 17th launch I've seen in person out of
awesome.
Vandenberg. And we actually saw, obviously we saw it lift off. We saw the interaction of the plume between the first stage and the second stage, which I would say is about 1/3 the brightness of a full moon. So it was very obvious. And then we saw the second burn that the first stage does, but we didn't see the landing burn because one, hills in the way, and two, it's over the horizon from Vandenberg when it does that. So,
gotcha.
But it was amazing.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so
Check that out.
we're all on Twitter anyway. So if you want to follow Jared, I know you updated some of your tweets or some of your pictures, kind of thing. So always
and
feel
videos
free.
and things. So yeah, very cool.
Really cool. Down here in LA, some people were saying that they could just go outside and see some of the, really tiny, but you could still see it because it was nighttime.
Yeah, it was basically visible literally from like San Francisco to Las Vegas to Phoenix, all the way down to Ensenada, Baja California. So,
amazing.
Yeah, it was a huge area that could see it. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Gotta love a clear night for that sort of thing. All right, so then next up, this is a Japanese satellite.
Yeah, this was the third launch on Monday, and this was an H-2 rocket. This was Japan launching the fourth and final satellite to augment their GPS network. With this, with the third launch, it occurred at 22:01 Coordinated Universal Time from the Tanegashima Space Center in southwest Japan, and this is going to enhance their system domestically, as I said, because the GPS signals they receive are sometimes blocked.
起動用電池起動全システム準備完了 ET エンジンスタート
Such a
Now the
gorgeous launch
H-2A
pad.
rocket.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know,
Sorry.
yeah, very cool. Nice oceanside launch there. Very cool. But with the rocket, the two solid rocket boosters, the first stage and the second stage, all performed as expected, and we were able to place the payload into the correct orbit. The payload being the Michibiki 4, or as I said, the fourth and last satellite in Japan's quasi-zenith satellite system. It's in a 31.7-degree inclination orbit, and it has a bit of a strange orbit because it has a low point of about 300 kilometers or 200 miles and has a high point of about 35,000 kilometers or about 22,000 miles up. And that's they can make that very interesting figure-8 pattern when all four of their satellites in their pattern, in their fleet, are able to make that constellation over Japan and augment their network to make sure they have accurate navigation and positioning systems.
That's really, really cool. And yeah, somebody in the chat room says, just leaps off the pad. And yeah, that just kind of goes.
Yeah.
Such a gorgeous launching area. Okay, so now for the rest of the week, because there's more. Another SpaceX launch. What was going on with this one?
Yeah, so this one was launching a communications satellite, but just one instead of multiple satellites on this particular launch.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Nice good roar that time. Oh, man. This launch occurred at 22:53 Coordinated Universal Time on Wednesday, October 11th, from Launch Complex 39A in Cape Canaveral, Florida. So a launch from the West Coast and then another launch from the East Coast. Very cool. This was the third flight of a recovered Falcon 9. This particular Falcon 9 first stage previously flew for the 10th CRS flight earlier this year in February. And they were able to land it successfully on the Atlantic drone trip, Of Course I Still Love You, making this the 18th successful landing, 11th at sea, and the second successful landing for this particular booster, which is awesome.
Man, when are those stats are just going to get weird after a while. Okay, so this is the 25th
yeah, we probably won't
this, and
keep
the
up
4th
with it as it goes more routine.
That's funny, though. I'm sorry, go on.
But as you see the payload deployment right there, that is the SES-11/EchoStar 105 satellite that both SES and EchoStar are sharing capacity on. Now, for that, it's going to be traveling. It was placed into a geosynchronous transfer orbit, and it's going to be using its own propulsion system over the coming weeks to get into an equatorial geosynchronous orbit about 35,000 kilometers up. So this was able to successfully be placed into orbit, and I thought it was interesting that SES was the first customer for the first time that they did a flight on a reused Falcon 9 stage. And so here they are kind of trusting them again, and just I love that this is happening, and it's going to be interesting as and where these launches happen to see how the launch prices come down for SpaceX and whether or not this is truly going to be paying off as everyone hopes it will. So very cool to see.
Yeah, interesting. And then we still have more, of course. We have a European Space Agency launch. What was that one?
Yeah, this was a European Space Agency launch, launching their Sentinel-5 precursor satellite, which is measuring greenhouse gases. But this was actually launching on top of a Russian rocket. It was a converted ICBM that has been modified for space launches. Huh.
It sounds very impressive.
Unfortunately, not much to see there. Launched from a silo, actually, a little hard to see. That is the Rocket, the rocket named Rocket. And it's really cool. I like it because for this particular launch, it happened at 9:27 Coordinated Universal Time from the Plesetsk Cosmodrome in northern Russia. And I really like it because it has a Breeze KM upper stage, which is the inner portion of the Breeze M stage without the donut-shaped drop tank that is used on Proton launches. And this allows for quite a few capable missions with this smaller rocket. There's the Breeze KM stage right there igniting. And as I said, the payload itself is the Sentinel-5P, and it was placed into a polar orbit about 800 kilometers above the Earth, and it's going to be measuring the atmosphere in real time, and it's going to be cooperating with the rest of ESA's Earth observation Copernicus fleet. So very cool to see this happen. I really like these smaller launches, and congratulations to everyone who was involved with it.
Very cool. As Deriachi, I'm probably getting that username incorrect, says in the chat room, if I recall correctly, it means ranger in Russian, so not quite as odd of a name. So yeah, I suppose a rocket called...
It doesn't translate
Yeah,
well.
it just looks like a rocket.
Y'all spelt rocket wrong. No, they didn't. So.
Us English plebs. So there's that. I apologize there. But that's cool. But Ranger, that's a really cool name for a rocket. A Ranger rocket.
I think my favorite thing about this was that it's a pollution monitoring satellite that was launched on hypergolics. So. So good one.
Nothing ironic about that.
Good one. Good one, Europe. Good one. So.
Sometimes it takes a little to save a lot or something. Okay, and then finally for this week, because it's been a crazy busy week, a Soyuz launch. Tell me more about that.
That's right. Yeah, we had the final launch of this week was a Soyuz that happened just early this morning, and this launch actually was scrubbed. It was supposed to have originally happened on Thursday, and this was launching the next Progress MS-07 cargo freighter to the International Space Station. Now, even though Russian officials never said why the rocket had a launch abort, this launch was successfully able to take place at 8:46 Coordinated Universal Time from the Baikonur Cosmodrome. The Soyuz 2-1A rocket performed normally, and the Progress 07 spacecraft was placed into the proper orbit in low Earth orbit. It has 2.7 metric tons of supplies, provisions, and fuel for the International Space Station on board. And Although it was originally scheduled to have a fast rendezvous to the International Space Station, only taking about 2 hours, the delay in the launch itself is requiring the Progress to use the old 2-day rendezvous maneuver and is scheduled to dock to the International Space Station on Monday. Now, it's going to remain at the space station until about March of next year before it disconnects and then re-enters the atmosphere and burns up with trash on board. So very cool to see this launch happen. It's just so cool to see all of these launches happen this week. We had one more that almost happened early this morning as well, but got scrubbed once again. So
way to go,
we'll have to talk about that at a future date.
Yeah, we will. We definitely will. As Dennis in the chat room is actually correcting us, says it's rumble in Russian is rokat. Which is that's also a really cool name. So there's that. And then a couple people mentioned that the sound on that, like the microphones were breaking, the air was breaking, like that was so loud. Even here Jared's like, oh, I love the thing in there.
Yeah.
That was very, very
cool.
Windy. A little bit. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Mike, thank you. Have some water. I say sit down, but then we'll lose you on screen. So, yeah, exactly.
Oh, drink for 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
all right.
I don't have a holographic chair anyway.
Mr. Jared.
Yes.
You've got some news for me.
Yeah, from the outer solar system. Actually, both of my newses are from the outer news.
Both of your news
They're both. Yes, they're from the outer solar system.
Cool. What's the first one?
So the first one is actually about Haumea, which is a dwarf planet, as we jokingly call it, Haumea, the egg. Now, if you've never heard of Haumea, you should hear of Haumea because it is an incredible place out in the Kuiper Belt. It's a dwarf planet, and it has a very unique shape. It's known as a triaxial ellipsoid. So, which basically means that it's shaped like an egg, and in this case, a very elongated egg. It's nearly 2,300 kilometers long on its longest axis. That's bigger than that's pretty close to Pluto in size. But even at this size, it takes just under 4 hours for one rotation to occur, and this rapid rotation is likely why Haumea is in the shape that it is. Well, earlier this year in January, Haumea caused an occultation. So basically, on its orbit, it moved in front of a star and it blocked the light temporarily, and this was observed by 12 telescopes in 10 different European nations. And the results from these observations gave us the more precise 2,300 kilometer long axes, which is about 450 kilometers longer than our previous estimates. That means Haumea is likely much less dense than the initial estimates. We thought Haumea might have been made of rock, which would have been a little weird for a Kuiper Belt object. Out that far, if you're in that cold region, you should be made out of ice. But with this new observation, the density is lower, so it's probably made of ice. And then we also got the orbital parameters of its 2 moons as well. And we also found out 2 additional surprises as well. Guess what? Haumea has a ring around it. And this is cool. The first object with a ring that we found beyond Neptune. We know of asteroids and what are called centaurs, which are asteroids in the outer solar system that have rings as well. All of the gas giants in the outer solar systems have rings. So this tells us that rings are actually much more likely than we expected to form around objects in solar systems. And also, those rings of Haumea, they're actually much darker than the surface of Haumea, so we don't know precisely what that means at the moment, but they're also rotating once every 12 hours, which is 3 times slower than the rotation of Haumea itself. So a very interesting place out in the middle of, if you will, the cosmic boonies of our solar system. So maybe we should start getting a mission together to go there. I mean, it's going to take a really long time to get out there because it's a little bit further than Pluto, but it would still be an amazing place to send a mission to, just to see what it looks like, what are those rings, what are its moons doing, and other things like that. So, really cool results that came out this week.
All right, very cool. And then
send a fleet.
Yeah,
let's do it. Let's do like
all the other dwarf planets.
Yes.
Aww.
Like the dwarf planet.
Can we call it Snow White
or something? Sure. Why not?
Sounds good. Eris, let's go see Makemake. Let's go see Haumea. Let's go see all these places.
Yes, let's do it. I'm for it. Let's get the money together. Kickstart it. We'll kickstart it. That'll do it.
The Snow White project?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. And then, Jared.
Yes.
This says Planet 9 evidence mounts.
Yes.
And you wrote this story.
I know.
I'm really confused right now.
Okay. Would you like me to unconfuse you?
Yes,
okay.
please.
So there's this thing that we've been talking about in astronomy called Planet 9, right,
Pluto.
I know Ben just yelled out Pluto. I agree that Pluto should be considered a planet as well, but I have to go with the nomenclature because that's the way things work nowadays. And I guess we could just start calling it Planet 10 and annoy people that way. So Planet 9, but actually Planet 10, was first proposed by Caltech astronomers Mike the Pluto Killer Brown and Konstantin Batkin in January of 2016. And they've released a new paper from them that is narrowing down where to look in the hunt for Planet 9. Now, it was proposed as a way to explain these weird orbits of multiple Kuiper Belt objects that all line up together way out in the outer solar system. And there's been plenty of papers written both for and against the existence of Planet 9. But this new paper from Brown and Batkian, however, makes an extremely strong case for not just the existence of Planet 9, but that something like Planet 9 is actually the reason why our solar system is the way it is. So the paper basically suggests that Planet 9 likely formed closer to the Sun and then migrated outwards, much like our current understanding of the gas giants and their formation in the solar system as well. And Planet 9 may account for a curious mystery as to why our Sun is actually tilted about 6 degrees off the plane of the solar system, where the planets orbit, or what we call the ecliptic. Now, Planet 9 actually also fits very nicely into our understanding of exoplanets, which of the confirmed 3,529 exoplanets of this morning, majority of those actually fall into masses of size between super Earths, so a little bit more massive than Earth, and mini Neptunes, which are not quite as massive as Neptune, but still sizable. And this is where we expect Planet 9 to actually be in this artist's conception of it right here. We expect it to have about 10 times the mass of the Earth, which would put it, if it were a gaseous planet, at about this size compared to the Earth and Neptune. Now, Brown and Batkin are continuing their hunt for direct observation of Planet 9, if it does exist, and they're using the Subaru telescope on Mauna Kea at the Mauna Kea Observatory, and a direct optical detection would settle any and all doubts. And hey, this is a star chart right here, and we're coming up on winter here in the northern hemisphere, which means that Orion is going to be coming up, which they've narrowed it down that Planet 9 should be somewhere near Orion in the sky. So you amateurs at home, give it a shot. See if you can see Planet 9 from your backyard. Best of luck to you, because you're up against some guys that are using a 8-meter telescope in basically the best observatory in the world. But hey, who knows if you might steal their thunder, perhaps. So.
And you can name it whatever you want.
Yes, you can call it whatever you want. So you call it George. So we were going to call Uranus George, but that got voted down. So.
Aww. And I will love him and I will hug him and I will name him George.
Yes.
Right? The old Bugs Bunny? Is that the way that goes? Oh, wow. Okay. Sorry, we're a little bit off course.
There's a whole bunch of conspiracy theorists out there who already want to call it Nibiru or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Not saying it's aliens, but it's probably aliens.
I mean, we could name it that.
I don't know.
And freak out a portion of our population if we felt up to that.
Man.
But I don't know.
Can you just imagine the press release?
I don't think as astronomers, we try not to be mean when we do things. Unless you're Mike Brown and with Pluto. Anyways.
Oh, wow. Now, see, that was mean. All right. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of a calendar break. You can see any and all launches that are going to be coming up in this coming week. And when we come back, we're going to be talking with Mars, for lack of a better definition there. So stay with us and we'll be right back.
Look into her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lies. Filled with awesome expectation, this girl's a fascination. And nothing in her way will keep her from her destination. 'Cause she's fire walking, she's fire walking. When it's hot, she keeps on moving, 'cause her heat keeps on improving.
and tomorrow continues. As was aptly pointed out in the chat room as we were in that calendar break, I'm trying to hit it, we have an Atlas V launch tomorrow, and that was scheduled due to a delay, so the calendar was made prior to us knowing that we were going to try to launch an Atlas V again. So there may be one launch this coming week. All right, I want to give a shout out to all of the patrons of tomorrow who've helped to make this specific segment of this episode happen. These are people who have contributed $10 or more. There are Escape Velocity patrons. We also have our Orbital patrons. These are people who've contributed $5 or more to this specific episode. To find out how you can help crowdfund the shows of tomorrow, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. All right, we are joined by the mission control team for Loon Ares. And before we get into introductions, I did want to say that last week we called it MARS, which we refer to as Modular Analog Research Station, but apparently this past June it was actually changed to Loon Ares. What was the reason behind the change? Is there a reason to change the name?
Well, hello everybody. Yeah, there was a reason to change the name because we are simulating not only surface of Mars but also surface of the Moon. So that's why Lunaris, Luna for Moon and Ares for Mars.
So that makes a great deal of sense. And you mentioned names, so let's go around the horn really quick. Introduce who you are and your role on Loon Ares and Icarus One.
My name is Alexander Waśniewski. I'm the project manager of the Icarus One. Flight director, Dr. Zosia Peric, and our biomedical engineer and PI, Dr. Wojciech Jarosz.
Hello.
I'm a co-executive director of the Lunaris as well, together with Agata Kołodziejczyk, who is the main director and the main researcher in this project. Actually, right now, our mission, Icarus One, has been held already for 7 days, and it's ongoing for the next 7 days because we have 14 days isolations there. And it's a very specific and very original mission with a handicapped astronaut on board, Marcin Kaczmarzyk, who lost his eyes and hands in explosion.
And so let's talk about a little bit about Icarus One. You mentioned that there's a handicap astronaut on board, but what's actually going on here, right? What are you guys simulating? What's the purpose of what you're doing here?
Yeah, we are simulating Martian mission, but not the day 0, but 0 plus 20 years or something. So the situation when the colony is already set and people get older, get sick, lose their capability of working, or they become handicapped. And we are trying to first search through all the problems that may face a handicapped astronaut on board, starting from the habitat, and through the suit, to the EVA problems, even preparing food or taking care of the garden without eyes or hands. And it may happen, actually, like happened to our astronauts. So that's why we decided to perform the mission called What Could Possibly Go Wrong? And everything goes wrong, actually, during this mission.
And you're performing both sides of this mission, right? You've got a mission control here on Earth, and then you've also got a simulated Martian habitat, which means that you're going to have a time delay between the two. Are you simulating that time delay as well?
Maybe I will pass the voice to our flight director, who is responsible for contact as a Capcom as well with Lunaris.
Okay, so yes,
We're missing your audio, unfortunately. It seemed to be cutting out.
Yeah, be a little bit louder. Yeah, we have such a system which is integrated with the habitat operational system, and we have 20 minutes delay one way right now, which is implemented in the Habitat OS. But the idea behind this mission is that those colonies are going to be more and more independent. And Earth, the mission control on Earth, of course, would take care of them, but not as meticulous, let's say, as it would be the day zero mission.
So because of that delay, we actually are unable to interview the astronauts live because we would have to ask a question. It would take approximately 20 minutes to get there. They would then answer the question, and it would take approximately 20 minutes to get back. That's 40 minutes out of the show for one question. That wasn't going to be a viable thing. So just like what we would have on Mars, if we were interviewing a real Martian habitat, we actually sent out some questions in advance. And we have a really quick video they sent out of crew introductions just to kind of go over who they are. So let's really quickly roll the crew introductions.
We are the crew of Icarus 1, which stands for Innovative Concept Hours, or Mars. And I'm the commander. My name is Christiane. I'm from Germany, and this is my crew, Stepan.
I'm Stepan. I'm from Poland, and I'm the Chief Safety Officer.
I'm Zuzanna, I'm from Poland, and I'm the medical doctor of the crew.
My name is Marcin. I'm a structural material scientist as well as public relation officer.
My name is Lucy, I'm from France, and I'm the crew engineer.
And how was the crew picked for this particular mission?
Well, each time our crews are very meticulously chosen. People are usually with more than one specialty, like doctors, engineers, pilots, divers. And in this situation, the main person in the crew was Martin, who is the handicapped astronaut, and the rest of the crew was kind of an envelope which would be useful in this mission. So this kind of recruiting was quite different than the general astronaut role. It was a direct recruitation.
We had a few questions from the community that were sent over to the crew that they have since answered. So let's start off with one from Fit Orion, just talking about the mission in general, which is what is the focus? Just psychology, or did you have real approximate hardware as would be used on a real mission? And the crew answered with the following.
We mostly think about the experiments, psychological experiments, putting 6 people or 5 people together in a habitat like ours, watching as they interact and as they live throughout those 2 weeks. We have badges, as you can see, on our necks. And those are a mechanism that monitor where we go, how much we spend, the time we spend in each of the rooms. They also record the sound, the level of the sound, so they can record if we talk with somebody and how long do we talk. We have some other experiments, though we don't have any hardware that will eventually be used in Mars. On Mars, but we have things that should simulate how could it be like we have how could it be on a real Mars mission. We have some pilot suits that we wear when we go outside to the Mars terrain. We have, as we shown you before, some biological experiments to see if it's possible to run those experiments by people that maybe not exactly are biologists. So mostly it's psychological experiments, but we also do some experiments that may be used in Mars missions for real.
Those name badges are pretty cool, the ones that record everything. So they're recorded 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365? Or how do those work?
Well, they record all the level of the sound, the behavior, the interaction between astronauts, and then you can map somehow the group, and you can take some measurements of the mood of who is a natural leader, who spends a lot of time with somebody. So you can, for example, make a project of the schedule for the next months or weeks or years in case of the real mission, but it's quite useful on Earth as well.
From our community, Jazz Throat's asking, what about the disabled astronaut? What can you tell us about this particular aspect of the mission?
Okay, so question is quite general, but well, he's doing quite well, if that was the question. All the astronauts went through the survival training before. It was training in the air, in the water, like UET, Serie A, and the rep tactics, the first aid. So he was performing very well as well before. And right now, he works as a regular astronaut on board. He performs EPAs, he performs his own experiments because he's a specialist on the meteorite. And he performs some experiments with the chondrite on board. So he's a regular member of the crew. So the disability is also used by us as the investigators because one of the experiments on board which is performed relies on the levels of the lighting. So the chronobiology is in the background. And this person, Martin, he has an eyeball after the explosion. So he has no receptor for light. So we may use him as a control. But it's not the main thing. For us, it was important that person with a severe disability, which was acquired during the explosion of the chemicals while working on meteorite. So even the mechanism is Martian, actually, can perform on board and can be somehow contributory to the development of the tube, because we decided to make the top tube parts of the exoskeleton and the bionic hand and other equipment which would be helpful for such a person.
So let's talk about some in situ resource utilization. So Fit Orion, once again, earlier asked, is there any work on in situ resource utilization hardware or techniques? And the astronauts responded with?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Unfortunately, we do not have actual Martian soil. Nobody on Earth has it. But fortunately, on the surface of Mars, there is a lot of meteorites. And we have an actual meteorite. It has been already pulverized. You can see it here. This is the dust from the meteorite. It's magnetic dust. So we try to extract metals out of it in order to create some structural materials, as well as we try to raise earthworms on this dust and grow some plants.
So is resource utilization an important part of what you guys are working on?
Yeah, definitely it is. On board, we have two big projects. One is Healing Space, which is the project of the rehabilitation on board, and rehabilitation specialists are involved in this. And of course, astronauts are using only the resources on board, which were given, and some of them are. I mean, even the equipment should be fixed or made, like using the 3D printer on board. So we are using this kind of resources, but we can use also the natural resources of Mars, which will be the chondrite in this situation, the meteorite. And this is another project, Noah's Ark, in which we are trying to breed some animals using the natural resources, the potential resources of the planet for terrestrialization. Let's say that's why earthworms, and maybe Wojtek may say a word about this project because he's a PI in it.
Hello everyone. So we've got the on board the mission in Habitat, and we made an experiment dividing containers. One containers was raised on soil, regular soil from taken by astronauts in the mission. The second, we got the hondrite mixed the soil, about half. And in the third one, the pure hondrite. So the reason, or the main goal, is to check if the electrons will be able to create something which will be useful, for example, for plantation, for make some usage of the new soil. So we are very, very interesting because it's the first time.
Yeah, is to introduce some resources, which to include some resources found on the red planet into the life cycle of not very primitive, but still quite robust animals, which would be the pioneer organisms, in this way that they would create the environment for much more complicated organisms later on. But another idea is to perform all those experiments within the limits and skills of astronauts on board. So our support is as small as possible because we want to stimulate the independence of the astronauts there as well.
So kind of along those same lines of, kind of using the resources available, what not a lot of people may realize is that there likely won't be meat, or at least regular organic meat, for quite a while. So this question comes from Owen asking, did you all have to become vegan? And the astronauts responded with?
On simulated Mars, we are eating like military rations in which we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. For example, for breakfast you can eat spam in a can and some cookies, hard cookies. On lunch we have like chicken with rice and vegetables, tea and some cookies more. The lunch we can heat with our chemical heater. We put there some water inside and it's boiling and the stuff is like ready to eat in like 10 minutes. Then we have desserts, extreme batoons, salt, pepper, and we, in the end, we can eat dinner with pate, some more cookies, chewing gum, and dessert like fruit batoon. And also we eat plants that we grow in the biolab, like peppers, like mint and other stuff. Yeah.
So the last part's, I think, the most interesting because, Martians are going to have to create their own food. They're not going to be able to bring, 100 years worth of prepackaged food with them for any amount. This is not going to be a realistic thing. Are there plans in the future to try to simulate using only food that you've grown in your habitats, or is that just something that you guys aren't worrying about right now?
Well, yeah, we are worrying about this all the time. According to NASA guidelines, 80% of the food should be prepackaged and 20% should be created or grown on board. And that's why the calorie coverage of those meals ready to eat is like 80% of the daily intake. So the rest should be produced on board with bioponic garden, aquaponic actually. And another possibility is, potentially food from the insects. That was the question about the meat on Mars. Well, we don't take pigs, but we can take some other organisms. And it's not a coincidence that we are working on earthworms, on lychees, on other animals which may be used actually in many ways, not only as let's say helpers to create soil out of the hondrite, but some of those species are edible. And we are thinking of those things in this manner that in the future, that lots of food could be produced, all the And of course, the vegan question is quite important. But right now we know that there should be bigger amount of the plant protein in the food than the meat protein. I mean, for astronauts in microgravity, to avoid the microacidosis, which make the decalcification of the bones much more severe. But remember that people in the analogs, they are still on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So their diet is similar, but still analog. So it's not 100% the same kind of diet that would be available on Mars.
Wicked from our chat room asks, why use the oldie-timey technique of soil growth and not hydro or aeroponics that produce bigger crops faster?
We do it as well, but every technique needs a backup. Backup and backup and backup and backup. And it's not very wise to rely only on one technique. So, well, that's the answer from my side.
And then, you know, all of these things require water. So another question that was asked in advance from, I think that's Finnegan, how much water do you take with you? And the astronauts responded with?
So water in this mission is really important because it would be very important when we go to Mars. It's a consumable that we need to live, but it's also very heavy. So we have to conserve it and have means of recycling it. Here, I'm in front of the kitchen sink, and as you can see, there is no tap. We take a little bit of water in a bucket to wash our dishes, and then we empty another bucket containing all these dirty dishwater. In a way, we recycle water because we take the condensate water from the air. Thanks to a dehumidifier. So this is a way of reusing water. As for showers and washing our hands or washing our teeth, well, we have to conserve water as well. So showers last between 1 minute and 2 minutes of running water. And this water we collect it and we reuse it for example, wash the floor or wash other things in the habitat. Washing our hands and brushing our teeth goes really fast, and it's only a matter of milliliters. Drinkable water, potable water, we are required to drink at least 2 liters of water per day. So this is water that we have in bottles. Each astronaut in this mission has their own bottle for the day.
And how seriously is tracking all of their water consumption as well as the water usage of the habitat taken? Because in theory on Mars, you should have access to water someday in the future, correct?
Yeah, maybe. But right now we are not focusing on this kind of problems like searching for water on Mars. We provided them with 337 or 6 liters of drinking water, and there is like 1,000 liters of technical water, and that's it. So they have to cope with this. But right now they have a quite bigger amount because we had one fatality on board, and they are like 5 crew members right now. One astronaut deceased.
Actually, that's a great segue. You mentioned that one astronaut died, virtually died, not a real death, right? Yeah. Actually, we've got a quick little video from him introducing himself.
Hi, my name is Matt, and I'm an executive officer and biosystems engineer at the Icarus mission. I take care about plants and hydroponics. I'm also a deceased astronaut who died during the EVA.
That's kind of funny. Like, also, I died. So he died during an EVA, an extravehicular activity, or most people know that as a spacewalk. Was that planned in advance, or did circumstances just come around where you're like, well, actually, in this scenario, you would have died, so okay, goodbye? Or was he always planned to die in an EVA?
No. That was caused by the external circumstances. But to keep the simulation going and not to break the scenario, the decision was that he has to die. I mean, virtually, of course. And there was a very nice procedure, the burial procedure, and that's how it ends. Actually, he has a nice grave in the crater.
And did that impact the crew dynamics at all? Like now, all of a sudden, they're down a crew member. They weren't really expecting it. What happened on that side of it?
Well, it impacted mostly our flight director, who has to reschedule all the schedules for 6, and now there are 5 of them. But all the experiments are going, and all the EAs are made, and it's a problem actually. If you simulate thoroughly the EVAs, the spacewalk, and you have one person less, then there starts to be there begins to be a problem with let's say simulated radiological problem, because they will get bigger and bigger dosage of the radiation, because they will have to make the EVAs more often. So, and we are trying to be as realistic as possible. So we are taking the doses of the radiation into consideration in terms of therapy. But influence, of course, the dynamics of the crew. But those badges will show us how, because there were like 4 days with the badges and 6 astronauts, and right now we'll have another days with 5 of them all. So we can even have the hard evidence of the changes and the dynamic.
Yeah, those badges are really, really cool. I didn't realize you guys were doing that, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, those are actually quite awesome. The astronauts did take a moment to give us a quick tour of the habitat, and we've got, we edited that down a little bit. It's a slightly longer video, but I actually think it's pretty cool. You'll be able to see kind of everything that they're working on. So here's a quick tour of their hab.
So we are in the atrium, which is the main space of this habitat. That's a space where we can sit together, speak, at night, tell us stories. We can work here during the day if we are tired of working on a desk. It's also the space where we do our exercise in the morning, and for this reason we have our yoga mats here and some terrabands. We are in a habitat where we cannot walk more than 5 meters in straight line. So we need to get some exercise done, some sport to stay fit and be able to sleep at night, but also so that our muscles don't get too stiff and that we have pain in the neck, in the shoulders.
Welcome in Biolab. Here is a place that we have both plants and animals. As you can see on the left wall, we have hydroponics, which are plants that I try to grow without using soil. Next, I have here some animals. Those are leeches, bigger and smaller ones. In the next room, as we go to the next room, I have cocoons of the leeches waiting for some newborns to come. I also have some maggots and some earthworms. And with those, I'm trying to see how they react for meteorite ground and see if those little animals can ever try living on in a space like that.
Hello. So this is our operations room. Come on in. So this is the room where we work on our computers. So we do analysis work and where we talk to mission control, and where we have our printer and all our electronics.
Welcome to our dormitory. This is the place where we sleep at night. So we have individual bunks, and each bunk is equipped with a mattress, a yoga mat that we can put under, and we have also things to store our personal items that we brought together with us. Yeah, there are 6 bunks and hangers. Yeah, it's just personal items and clothes here, and sleeping astronauts at night.
Now, guys, we've got the kitchen here. Hi, I'm Stepan, as you remember. This is our kitchen. Here we've got briefings. We eat here, we talk here, we talk about our schedules and cleaning stuff. Yeah. Now we will go to the storage. Come on, come on, come on, come on. And this is our storage. In storage, the main thing is our Energo bike, which we can bike and make electricity to our batteries, charge our batteries. We have food, water, and tools, glues, everything what we could need in the hut. Thanks.
Hello, welcome to Analytic Laboratory. It consists of 2 parts. The first is so-called EVA prep room, which stands for Extravehicular Activity Preparation Room. All our spacesuits are stored here, and all the equipment for extravehicular activities. Okay, and the second part is the Analytic Laboratory proper. We have here a 3D printer to make spare parts and our different projects. We conduct magnetic separation here, as well as spectrometry that shows us the contents of the Mars or other material that we can collect outside.
So now you've seen how we go outside, and this is where we go outside, our airlock. So this is the place where we wait. I will just close the doors so we can... So, well, you didn't see this on camera, but the cool thing is when we close this one door, then we get the sign that we can open the next door. And so this is the place where we wait until until the pressure inside here is adjusted to the Martian pressure outside. So we have a nice bench because the waiting time can be quite long. And then this UV light is for sterilizing our suits when we go out and when we come back in. And this is the action door to the outside, which I cannot open right now because, as you see, I don't have the proper suit. But so this is it from the crew Icarus 1. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, so they take that very seriously, right? They won't even open the outside door just because they're not in a proper suit at that point. And the whole simulation is taken that seriously, correct?
Yes, yes, of course. There's no point in making not serious relations. We don't have time for playing. This habitat is in cooperation with the Laboratory of Extreme Medicine at the University of Medical Sciences in Poznań, and medical experiments were given the Bioethical Commission approval from the University of Medical Sciences in Poznań. So it's a real science, actually. And if we want to have real science, we must to have the real input if you want to have a good output. So our astronauts are well disciplined, and they perform all the activities within the regular and almost real conditions which could be seen or on ISS or other missions well planned, because there are no other missions like extraterrestrial missions right now. But we are trying to stay within the regimes. Also, the mission control, which is not very big. We have like 5 people in the mission control and like 5 others in the mission support. But it also simulates the situation 20 years after. Everybody remembers what happened to the Apollo program. Okay, the last Apollo was hardly seen actually on TV. Okay, no, it was, people were bored almost. So after 20 years, it would be something normal that we have colonies on Mars, and only very few people would be interested in paying money for that and the support and other stuff. So that's why we have such a small MCC and mission support.
I mean, eventually the Martian habitats, the Martian colonies will have to become self-sufficient and won't be able to rely on Earth mission control centers at all. I mean, that would be the ultimate goal, I would assume.
Yes, and we are in the transition right now between the, let's say, manual steering and full independence.
Let's talk a little bit about power. We have a question from the chat room from Sarge Enzyme asking, how strictly are the power requirements measured or controlled?
Yeah, that's a good question. Right now, we are checking how much, what are the limits of the habitat. Okay, so sometimes we make the experiments without power restrictions, because some of those experiments they do require much more power than perhaps would be available on board. But the habitat itself is prepared for being self-sufficient within the power produced by the astronauts during the everyday exercises. So for 12 hours, they can provide power for all the systems using the ergometer. But as far they use the outside source of power, because we have also not only the habitat systems, but we have also the control systems outside of the habitat. So it is much more power eating the habitat itself, because we have to take care of them. Okay, so we want to have simulations.
So all of this costs money, right? I mean, you have to buy the habitat, you have to pay for food, you have to pay for all of this stuff. Who helps fund these experiments?
Well, the habitat was found by the private investor. The Space Garden is the name of the company, and so it was paid partially at the very beginning as a program of the crowdfunding, and then the investor, Space Garden, took over the project, and it was funded with the private money. And the Icarus one is also paid with private money. So actually, I have some friends, let's say, who have friends, and that's how it works actually. Yeah, and we are cooperating with Polish, mostly Polish companies, like Arpo is the company which provides us the meals ready to eat. Like the producer of the extreme bars, this one, it's the name of the bar. And like we have also manned Martian roving vehicle, which is actually the Blue Beetle wheelchair. It's a wheelchair. So it's it matches to the idea of the exporting somehow the handicap astronaut to space. But it was they lent us for free, and many people do many things just for the idea. That's why it was possible to make. But of course, once we are talking about the real science, the funding must be stable So that's why we are working with the universities, with some NGOs like Open Science Foundation, represented here by Gosha, because that's how we can collect money also by the public collections as well.
And speaking of the public, if people are interested in the habitat itself or the different missions you're running, where can people go for more information on this?
Yes, you are very welcome to go to our website, lunares.space, and then once you enter it, of course, it will be as a default in Polish, but there's also an English version. And also you will be able to go through the, and you will be able to go through the diaries, which are recorded by Martin. And day by day, you would be up to date with astronauts information and astronauts, if you like.
Awesome. I'd like to thank all of you for taking time out of your Saturday. I know there's a time zone difference. Hopefully this wasn't too weird of a time for you guys. But it was actually a lot of fun to try to figure out not only, I mean, you're doing your simulation, but we kind of played along as well. We didn't want to have any live video with somewhere where we'd have a 40-minute delay. So we had to figure out on our side how we were going to deal with that, which I think was kind of a good test run for how we're going to deal with interviewing Martians when they actually do land on Mars. One last question, though. You mentioned that you're doing the moon as well. So is that with different crews then? Because the time delay is going to be much different, right? A moon delay is what, like 6 seconds round trip as opposed to Mars, which is between, between 4 minutes and 20-something minutes one way, right? So do you switch those clocks? How does that work?
No, we switch crews, actually, because it's the third mission already there. First was PIMAS 2017. It was a Martian mission. But within the PIMAS, in July, 4 days, the first 4 days were lunar, so without the delay, and then it was switched, as you said. But another mission, the Lunar One, was in August, and it was totally originally the lunar mission. And right now we have the Martian mission, which was designed as the mission with a 20 minutes one-way delay.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much.
And we have our own Skype delay as well. That's fun to deal with. All right, I'd like to thank everyone for watching. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, comments from our last show. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We've always looked to the stars. They guide us, give us comfort, help us find our way. We see ourselves out there. When we look up, it inspires us. And we long for something we don't yet know. We yearn to go there. So, we venture forth.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize a vision of best of our energies and skills.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not.
Many think we stopped exploring. But we know our journey didn't end. We've only just begun.
Orion is functioning perfectly at this point.
Come with us and explore tomorrow.
And welcome back to Tomorrow. Now, before we get started with comments from last week's show, shout out to all of our patrons of Tomorrow who've been able to make this specific segment of this episode happen. These are people who've contributed $10 or more. These are people who've contributed $5 or more. And back to $10 or more. These are Escape Velocity patrons. Lots of people. And then, of course, our Orbital who have contributed $5 or more, and our Suborbital patrons who've contributed $2.50 or more. Each different level has a different set of rewards and things that you get for contributing as a thank you for helping to make the show go. And to figure out how to help contribute for the show, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. All right, let's go ahead and get started with some comments from last week's show. Carrie Ann.
Okay, so last week's show, Orbit 10.37, was the National Space Council is what we were talking about. A bit of a, I suppose, roundtable is not quite exactly, it was a discussion.
Oh, did I put the wrong...
You did put the wrong thing in there.
That's not right. That's the image I put in there. That's not...
that's wrong, Ben.
That's just straight up wrong. I'm sorry.
Episode before that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it's just the conversation that keeps going, I guess. And, you know, for those of you, first of all, really quickly, if I may, there you go.
There we go.
Thanks.
It's just in case you were wondering. While we love to have you guys comment and watch us after the fact, joining us live is sometimes one of those magical things that cannot be explained. Matt, who was the one who died actually in this mission that we were just talking about, was joining us posthumously in the chat room. We also have Lunaris.
He was undead in the chat room.
Radek as well. So
they must
Radek
not have
and
used
Matt,
his resources.
Right, there you go. He was not consumed.
He was
thankfully.
not consumed.
Much to Seki's dismay. So the thing is that there are just conversations that happen in the chat room that we just don't get a chance to push to air. And it's so thank you guys for joining us. It was really amazing. Really great to chat with you and answering some additional questions in the chat room as well. So if you do get a chance to join us live, please do join us in the chat room. The conversation's much more in depth than you could possibly ever imagine when you only watch us on demand. Although if you don't get a chance to do that, my apologies to you. It's really cool. You really should.
All right.
In any case, so this comment comes off of our website, tomorrow.tv.
Allow me to present a wall of text.
Da-da! From a 1D Messier. Saying,
Hi, Doug.
That's Doug.
Hey, Doug.
Yep.
Wow, okay, well, maybe there's a reason he didn't use his first name, but cool. Everyone else seems to know it anyhow.
Yeah, Doug does
He's been on the show. Right? Yeah, he does Parabolic Arc. He's been on.
No, I'm just giving you crap. Okay, so Doug says, I live in Mojave Desert here in California. In case of those of you who don't know, we get sonic booms for Edwards Air Force Base just about every day. You just adjust to them, and they're still extremely irritating. But that's the nature of this place. We live near an air base and with the nation's only overland supersonic corridor overhead, and there's not that many people to annoy out here. Think Chuck Yeager, actually. It's,
today's the 70th anniversary.
Yeah. So. I think it would be hard to operate point-to-point rockets near major cities given the sonic booms and noise from launches. Do you know how many people live in the New York metropolitan area, in and around Shanghai? I wish Elon luck, but there are a lot of issues to deal with this before this can become a reality. I don't
think he ever said there weren't.
Right, and again, if you're watching live, apparently Elon is doing an Ask Me Anything on Reddit r/space in like another hour. So tune into that. Maybe somebody can ask him.
I think it's /r/SpaceX.
Okay, it might be. That's not what Elon tweeted out. So just to be very clear about that.
Is it really?
Yeah, Ben is wrong again.
Oh man, just bring that banner back up. There you go. Thanks. Thanks all. Just have that queued and ready to go for the rest of the show.
And yet we do anyway. I'm sorry. One more time for the people in the back.
I don't think there's much to add to Doug's comment. I think it was well spoken and articulated. I don't think anyone here disagrees. Just an interesting point. And actually, as a quick aside, for those who don't read Parabolic Arc, it's actually a really great resource. So head on over to parabolicarc.com. Doug is in the middle of the Mojave Desert, along with scaled composites, mass and space systems. Virgin is out there.
as well as Edwards Air Force Base.
Edwards is out there. Like it is kind of the cradle of next generation aerospace.
Yeah.
Is like right out where Doug is, and he's in the thick of it and reports on it on Parabolic Arc. It's a great website.
And we really went into a deep discussion on this earlier this week in our Discord channel, our public Discord channel as well, and we actually posted some videos of sonic booms from the space shuttle from what it was like on the ground. So good reason to join our Discord channel is to get in on discussions like that.
Yeah. So. All right, next up.
All right, next one comes off of YouTube. This is from Jeff300, which should be Jeff3000, but just an idea. It says, while they are an advisory board, a body, we were talking about the National Space Council, it's kind of wrong to say that the Space Council has no policy power. During the meeting, we saw a member request information on SpaceX's regulation issues because his department could start working on those immediately. These are powerful people.
I don't think we were saying that they weren't. I think what we were saying is just because the National Space Council says we're going back to the moon and onto Mars does not make it true yet.
Yes.
There are other steps that need to occur. They can make the suggestion, but that's, I believe, to the best of my knowledge, that is where their power kind of ends. They don't have the ability to set policy. There are lots of very powerful people on there. Go ahead, Mike.
Legally is all I wanted to throw in there. I mean, that's all the power that they have legally. Individual members might have the power to enact more things, like this particular individual that they're mentioning there. But as a body, as the National Advisory Council, that's all that they have the power legally to do.
Right. But that's not to say that they won't get listened to or that there's no power in a unified voice. There is, and I think that was kind of the point we were trying to make, which is there's power in a unified voice, but they don't have, they themselves as a unified body don't have the ability to say the United States is going to Mars. What they have the ability to say is we think the United States should go to Mars. President and Congress make this happen. Is that if I were to sum it up in one sentence, does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's an advisory council.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next up.
All right, next one comes off of YouTube from Count Artha.
Hello, Count.
I thought that said.
Oh, it's a wall of text.
Yes. Unless the first lunar missions are underway by 2020 or so and a lunar base by 2024, I don't see the next administration feeling any obligation to carry on with whatever this National Space Council recommends to the President of the United States. The only way I see them breaking the cycle of alternately lofty and conservative space exploration goals is if they actually get moving on their vision and it continues on sheer momentum. Space Shuttle was designed in 1971, but Project Apollo lasted all the way through the Nixon administration because of its own momentum. It was so far along by 1969 that it made no sense to cancel it. Similarly, Orion and Proto-SLS, known as Ares, were designed in 1990, but the shuttle program carried on its own momentum.
I mean, to be fair, the shuttle began design before 1971, did it not?
Yeah, the concepts were coming out in the 60s.
Yeah, it was
absolutely.
in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get momentum there. And that was kind of what our hope was, I think, when we were talking to Robert Walker. It was like, hey, can the Advisory Council kind of extend beyond presidencies? And that hope and dream was bashed when he said, no, the council serves at the behest of the president. And I was mentally like, nah. Simply because you need kind of an overarching something that goes longer than 4 to 8 years for a lot of these missions. And so, you know, that's just not the Advisory Council because it serves at the behest of the president. And that's just how that's going to be. Right? Yep. Any additions, Mike, Jared?
No.
Carrie Ann?
It is.
When tomorrow rules the world.
I feel like you know, the current situation we're in right now is what it is, but I feel like the only way to really safeguard programs from getting canceled from administration is to plan them to be an all-inclusive program that can be accomplished within 4 years. If it can't be accomplished within one administration's time, then it might not be worth putting the resources into if the resources are just going to be wasted when the program gets canceled. So that's my only advice.
I would agree, but I would extend that to 8 years because I think every president coming into office should and would assume that they will get reelected. Whether that's true or not, I think 8 years is a happy medium goal where it can happen within one president's tenure, and that gives you the ability to do bigger missions that are just simply going to take longer than 4 years.
Yeah.
To be blunt, we are not making it to Mars. The government is not making it to Mars in 4 years. right? They just move too slowly, in my opinion.
I mean, Apollo was announced in what is the we choose to go from the speech. We choose to go to the moon to boots actually on the moon was just a little over 8 years.
Right, it was 9 years. So, 61 was the speech.
61 to 69.
Yeah,
right. May of 61, I think, right? If I remember.
Yeah, we're all everyone turns to Dutta.
Yeah, Dutta, our
space
local
historian. Tell us our history. Validate those numbers, Dutta. So I fundamentally agree, Space Mike. I think I would just extend that to 8 years instead of 4. I think that, and then even if you do have a president that is only there for 4 years, you're still at that point halfway through the program, right? So it's a little bit different than being like a quarter of the way or a sixth or an eighth of the way through a program. It's just a lot. It's a lot harder when you're halfway through to potentially dismantle something, especially if a good chunk of it's already been paid for, and that's also something assuming they've made good progress. And if the president does get reelected, whoever that president may be at that time, then that vision can continue to completion at within 8 years, assuming they don't slide behind. Blah blah blah. All right, next up.
All right, next one comment comes off of Reddit, actually, from Occupied Duna. Duna?
I don't know. I saw that, and I always read that as Dutta for some reason. So it's Occupied Dutta.
For some weird reason.
Duna, it's the Mars analog in Kerbal Space Program.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, Occupied Duna. On the idea of the National Space Council could help to enthuse and interest the masses in space, leading to more funding. In a general sense, there is a good deal of support for space by American citizens and politicians already, but it comes down to an issue of money or of value / money of cost, right? Building enthusiasm will help marginally, but in order to really improve value / cost, you need to find a way to cut costs. The barrier to boots on the moon and Mars is not public support, it's cost. Until a solution is found that enables these truly exciting activities at a lower cost, we will see the same pattern of stagnation and periodic redirection in NASA's human spaceflight program.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
If I may, I think we've found a solution already, and that's fixed price contracting. I mean, it's worked pretty well for the commercial cargo and commercial crew programs, and I think that we just need to move over that way for everything.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of new space companies that would agree with you, and a lot of old space companies that would absolutely not agree with you. If I were to fathom a wild guess on that one. I mean, competition is good, right? And you have to meet those milestones, and if you don't, you get fired. Right, and that happened in COTS, right? It was Kistler was part of COTS. Yeah, and they didn't meet their milestones, and they were replaced with, at the time, just Orbital. Now Orbital ATK. Now Orbital. Who are we now?
Orbital ATK, the space division of Northrop Grumman.
There you go. Thank you.
Northrop Grumman Commercial Crew Lunar Lander X Prize Challenge. So,
next up. That's the shirt of the show.
That is amazing.
That is amazing.
It's like Star now. Okay.
Next up.
And like this comment comes off of Patreon from Joseph Habdank.
Orbital ATK, his space division.
You're the one who said next up.
I'm sorry. That was just brilliant. Yeah, that was well done. It's lingering. It's got like aftershocks.
It does.
Oh, that was good.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Joseph says, I think you might have misunderstood the purpose of the National Space Council. Their goal is to optimize the bureaucratic procedures and remove inefficiencies in the government, not give direction in space activities. After watching the whole 2 hours, 28 minutes of the initial hearing, I think they are in a very good position to do what they are meant to do. If they streamline processes, deregulate some areas, and allow increased competition, companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, or Bigelow Aerospace will benefit immensely. I'm actually very optimistic. I think that especially now when commercial space starts to dominate the National Space Council is a step in the right direction.
I think that's a really great comment. I think really kind of nailed that, right? Get rid of some of the red tape that's in the way, some of the inefficiencies that are in the way of, I think it was Gwen Shotwell, president of president of SpaceX, who said something along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing, of like, look, these policies and processes were not designed for a launch rate that we as a single company are dealing with, let alone what happens when you bring on other companies that are going to deal with these things. We're just going to overwhelm the government. Again, that's not exactly what she said, paraphrasing. But
yeah, Mike, how many SpaceX launches have there?
There was 2 this week. That was what, 15 so far this year?
15.
Right, yeah, that's what I was going with. And
I believe that is the most of any country, right?
Like, does anybody know?
I think that beats out.
It's more than, of course, Japan, India, the European Space Agency. Still less than Russia and China so far, though. No. They're more than China this year.
Well, how many does Russia
Still
have?
less than Russia.
It's got to be close to Russia. Russia's got 16?
They're close. Russia's, yeah. Russia, I believe, has 16.
I thought last I saw it on Wiki was 14. But Wiki may not be updated.
Well, right.
Someone in the chat room, figure that out for us.
Somebody knows.
Yeah,
well, I just thought that Mike had a running total, so that's why I was asking.
Leave it in the comments. I think that with the 2 this week, that it's 16.
All right. Anyhow.
Yeah, I believe that's
Russia's
correct.
one of us as of last night. All right, cool. All right, cool. All right. Really close though, right? I mean, that's an entire country versus one company, and that's just one private space company. Imagine what happens when these other companies, when Virgin Galactic starts flying regularly and Blue Origin starts flying regularly. You know, these policies and processes that are not designed around a flight cadence this regular, they are going to need to be updated, and the National Space Council could be the place that helps to update those regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. That's our show for this week. I'd like to also thank our ground support patrons who have helped to contribute to the show. These are people who've contributed between $1 and $2.49. They also get access to After Dark as soon as it's available on demand, their name in the show, and a few other things to find out those rewards and how you can help keep the show on the air, or on the internet, I suppose. We're not really on the air. I guess if you're Wi-Fi, that's on the air. Head on over to patreon.com/TMRO, right? Wi-Fi would be on the air, right? Wireless to your computer. That's
Close
air.
enough.
Air's in there. All right, next week we've got. You may have remembered from a couple weeks ago, we were going to have John on, I think it was like 10:34, but prior to the show, we did some Skype tests. He was traveling, and I had to pull the plug. It was not working for us. But we're going to bring him back next week. He's the author of Changing the Worlds on episode 10.39. We're going to be talking about how we can put humanity out in the solar system and colonize the solar system within our lifetime. And that's going to be a pretty awesome show. And if you want to get that book in advance, you can grab it on, I believe it's a Kindle edition on Amazon as well. Changing the Worlds from John Amabile. All right, that's our show. I'd like to thank everyone so much for watching. After Dark, up next. the ending video isn't working.
Hello, John.
John's just going to stare at us lovingly as we...
Hi, John.
As... Oh.
You're not clapping.
I just want your hands to hurt more.
They hurt.
Ow, that was my face.
Yeah, the close automation said file name as well.
Yeah.
They're all red now. Man, do those hurt. That was really hard.
I cannot tell you how
That's
much
all
effort.
your fault, too, by the way.
Cannot tell you how much effort it took to not cough during the interview. I hope I did all right.
Oh, yeah. P.S. While most of Northern California is completely on fire, there goes Mike. Southern California, also a little bit of fire. Also relatively close to us, so... Which is really great for sunrises and sunsets. Gorgeous pictures. Not so amazing for Ben's asthma. Because... This is what I've been listening to.
It's interesting. So, you know, we work in Hawthorne, so we drive down to Hawthorne, and I can actually, it almost feels like a weight is lifted off my chest the closer we get into work. And then as we come home, it's like someone starts pressing on my chest.
Which is
What's
why
weird.
we've had 12-hour days the last couple of days this week. Because it's like, no, we can just stay here. I can breathe.
Work a little longer.
I'm like, great, great, you can breathe. Thank you, Doka Doka.
Oh, man.
Doka.
Oh,
Doka
man.
Doka, Doka Doka. However you say that, rule number one. Thank you.
Rule number one,
There
no
you go.
dying. That is rule number one.
Very important rule.
Yeah, and I thought my albuterol was here in the studio because I don't normally need it. I really need it, like, apparently when there's ash in the air, which I can't even smell anymore.
No, I can't smell
I
it
don't
either,
understand why I'm still having issues. I figured this would be gone by now, but apparently it's not. I only need it in two places. That, and also when I go home back to Minnesota, my parents have a golden retriever, and that's all sorts of it. They actually have two golden retrievers, and I'm getting better, but yeah. So.
We know that we can't hang up on them.
We can't. So, Dutta, now that we're in After Dark, can we hang up on Mars? So I don't want them to feel like they have to still be here. So are we able to? Can you kill the channel? All right, cool. Can we hang up on Mars? How amazing was that? I feel bad. I feel really bad because the audio would just cut out on the sides and in the back, and so we just had to favor. Oh man, I felt bad. But it seemed to go okay, right? Everyone could generally understand what they were saying. With rare exception, right? There are a few moments where Skype was clearly like, I'm dropping audio.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a couple like, and so then, and you're like, yeah, okay, sure, no, that's great. So there's that, first of all.
Thanks for answering my question. Moving on.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of times like that where it's like, you betcha. So next, because there were
well, my other problem
chances with that.
My other problem is I've been swapping in from dead battery to dead battery. So I've just been swapping from red to red to red, trying to keep my battery. That's why you saw me leave in the commercial break.
Right.
And I've just been popping new batteries into my pack.
Oh.
Yeah. So there might be a point, Space Mike, in the not too distant future where I can no longer hear you. Speaking of, hey, I just.
You should buy some.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's too bad nobody suggested us buying any before the show. It's also too bad nobody bought any before the show. It's also too bad that somebody bought some and then didn't bring them to the show. It's also really, really too bad that that was the person who had suggested it in the first place.
So, Company X and TMRO use very similar gear. Actually, I test out a lot of the stuff that I'm going to deploy at Company X here. For example, we tested out the low latency stuff here, and I hear you guys saying that the low latency is not working super great. To that note, I can play with this show more than I can play with the show at Company X. So Company X is going to go back to regular latency because I think that DVR is important and you need to have a solid stream. TMRO, on the other hand, lower latency is very important for us. So I'm going to continue to try to get that, excuse me, to be as solid as possible. So we're going to keep trying the super low latency stream. If you have issues, we also broadcast on Facebook and we broadcast on Twitch. Feel free to jump over to whatever's working for you. So if YouTube's not working for you, because I'm getting mixed results in YouTube of like, it's working here, it's not working here. I don't need those reports, right? At least not during the middle of the show. If you want to send an email or mention, if we want to get a running tally going on Reddit, that might be useful. But like saying it in the chat room is not useful to me at all. But yeah, we're going to continue to try using the ultra low latency stuff, just because I really wanted to get it to work. Because I think getting it down to like 2 seconds of latency in a show like TMRO would be super awesome, where we say something and you as a viewer can immediately react without a 12 to 20 second delay, right? I think it's going to make that conversation even better, and it's important to me to get it right. So I'm hoping that this is just short-term pain, long-term gain. But I also realize you want to be able to watch it. You can't watch a stuttering show. That's where my pack is dying. That's where Twitch and Facebook will come. Okay, Mike, I can no longer hear you. I'm sorry, just so you know. So
that's okay, because right now he's not. Oh,
yeah.
Oh God. No.
Whoa.
Okay.
Wow.
Hey, man.
He's letting it fly.
Hey.
That's dead. So to the battery. Back to my other point. Lots of shared infrastructure, and. We're actually testing out, we've got a new audio board here that I'm considering for Company X, and we're going to be getting a new microphone system. The transmitters have been received, but the receiver hasn't been received. So no idea there. We'll kind of work out some of those bugs here, see how they, see what happens. I hate you all.
That's good stuff.
I love it. And really, again, thank you for Lunaris Radek and Lunaris Matt for hanging out with us in the chat room. It was really cool for you guys to show up and then be answering some of the questions, some of the extra questions that were in the chat room, which was really cool. And again, if you guys are watching this on demand, join us, really. I understand the time zones can be crap sometimes, but if it's a show that you really are interested in, really, really try to show up live to be in the chat room with us. We're all there. We're all hanging out in there, trying to ask questions, answer questions, some really great conversations going on. And you know, I don't want you to miss out because there's stuff like that we can't get to air sometimes. So.
Yep. And Colton is also working on the ability to link in, like Twitch can make it into our chat room, although I didn't see any Twitch this week. Did you? That might be broken.
Oh, Twitch stuff?
Yeah.
People were in this chat room saying that they were in Twitch.
Yep.
But I saw their
But you
names
didn't-
come up normally, not like Kay McCoy/Twitch.
Oh,
See what
okay.
I'm saying? So
yeah,
I don't know.
that might be all right. I guess I don't care that much.
Not that Kay McCoy was necessarily. But
And then he's also working on, this one will be trickier, he's working on YouTube integration as well. So you'll be able to chat on YouTube or on Twitch, and it'll pull into the show. And then hopefully, eventually, to Facebook. So all the places that we broadcast live, you can just chat in whatever that room is. It will all show up in our master chat room right here. The best place to chat, of course, is on our main website, tmro.tv/live, or just chat.tmro.tv. But the idea being that no matter where you talk, we'll be able to pull it in. As tomorrow gets bigger, like from a live standpoint, breaking it out into smaller chats I don't think is necessarily bad, especially if we as the hosts can comment on wherever you're chatting. That way, if the chat in YouTube starts to degrade into uselessness, you can go back to something else. Or
so a couple of people are saying that they're watching on Twitch, but they're chatting here.
Here, yep, on chat, yeah, and that's totally viable too. Yeah. We try to make it so you can do whatever you want. Ultimately, that's what we're trying to do is make it as easy for you as possible. And while I realize it is painful, which goes against what I just said, low latency is kind of important to me for a show like this. Less important for things like Company X or rocket launches because you don't have a point of reference. So if you're 12 seconds behind real time, who cares? But a show like this, I think it makes more sense. So I'll take the hit in DVR. I'll take the hit in a few years of being able to get to it. If we can get, we can test this and find a way to make it stable. That is key. If I can't make it stable, we'll go back. But give me a little bit of time to try to figure out how to make it stable.
Yep.
Okay. We have to get the other news stuff done because we.
Oh yeah, we have appointments and we have to get through news. So let's get these chairs out. Carrie Ann, let's move you over.
You all right?
And
Okay.
That was interesting.
What'd you do?
Both of my legs started cramping up so, at the same time.
You used them too much, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I hiked yesterday, so.
That's fine.
So it's like way better than sitting in 2 hours of traffic. So.
Orbital ATK subdivision.
That was great, Mike.
Space Division of
Freaking
Northrop
hilarious.
Good one.
What cracks me up is that you're still.
Let me get that for you, Jared.
Yeah,
I got
right?
that. No, it's all good.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Ben.
He just said his legs hurt. Duh.
That doesn't mean I can't lift things. I don't lift with my legs. I lift with my arms.
I'm like, you should not be lifting with your back. Let me explain that one to you real
You're
quick.
supposed to be lifting with your legs.
You are supposed to be lifting with your legs. I'm just saying.
All right, I'm gonna shut up.
All
This
right.
is just not gonna end well. So
Don't lift with your mouth, man.
I do that all the time.
Okay,
Wait a
this got
second.
awkward really
Wait
quickly.
a second.
Like really quickly.
Oh boy.
Ah, jeez.
Jesus, right? Because I just realized I didn't put the whole thanks, Mike part in. Hold on. Stand by.
Thanks, Mike.
Take your time.
Let's see if there's any better over here. Nope.
Astronauts at the International Space Station recently conducted 2 spacewalks within 5 days to perform
Actually.
repairs on the station's robotic arm and to do several other maintenance tasks.
This is 38, right?
Yep.
How do you want me to talk about our main topic?
I don't know, simulated Mars?
Who's drinking?
Me. I'm sorry, I'll turn off my mic.
Thank you.
It's not me for once.
So gross.
I'll just mute him anyways.
Y'all are
Thank
jumping.
you. So gross.
Man, mine is dead. I'm gonna mute Ben.
I want my other external mic back. There's like a hum in this one.
A hum?
I wouldn't even call it a hum. That is freaking high pitched as F.
I can't hear it.
As Falcon.
And it as Falcon.
Falcon believable.
And it picks up all the like button pushes.
I'm trying to make it.
I really like the audio from the second space launch this week. At least there was roar at the beginning instead of just straight hiss.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, because the microphones are all at different areas. Because it's a different launch pad. Okay.
No way. For real?
I know. Shut up. Sorry, guys. I know dead air is always fun to listen to.
Everybody loves dead air.
Dead air, dead air, dead air, dead air, dead air. Oh, that's different. That's dead ant, isn't it? Thanks, J-Rod. Cool. All right. I know. Substitute jokes. All right.
How you feeling? You feeling good? Feeling ready?
I assume you're talking to me, even though Jared's the one who's answering.
Yes.
I will never understand that. That was amazing. Mike's like, you feel good? You feel all right? Jared's like, yep. Cool. Yeah, I'm good. Everybody else good? As I hit Mike on the shoulder and he can't take it anyway. It's okay. All right. Ben doesn't like the little Xy thing. Apparently I'm looking at this camera, which is great because not even turned that way. So let's do that.
Does it do anything?
All right. Shut up. What is it that I'm supposed to say? There's just a little bit more news that we didn't get to in this last episode. In this last episode 10.38 or just in this last episode? What's that? Oh, yeah, thanks. I really actually was looking for an opinion, but it's fine. Okay. Cool.
And say the 10.38 part at the end.
Yeah.
The end spiel.
So there's a little bit more news that we didn't quite get to in this last episode. Besides lots and lots of rocket launches, Mike, there were also lots and lots of extravehicular activities. What's going on?
That's right. Yeah, there was U.S. astronauts at the International Space Station conducted 2 spacewalks within 5 days of each other to do some maintenance on the station's robotic arm, as well as perform some maintenance around the space station itself. I'm sorry, can we start over?
Yep,
All right.
not a problem.
You did great, and then I flubbed it.
No, you're good. I mean, it's the ash in the air. It's making everyone bad.
I just have my usual dust here. It's I don't know what my problem is.
It's the new digs.
It's Phoenix.
It's really, really dark in there. I'm really impressed. Did you paint another room black?
No.
Okay,
No. Just my magic set.
Nice.
Vanta Black.
Vanta Black. That's probably why. So there's a little bit more news that we didn't quite get to in this last episode. Besides lots and lots of rocket launches, Mike, there were lots and lots of EVAs as well?
That's right. There was U.S. astronauts at the International Space Station conducted 2 spacewalks, or extravehicular activities, within 5 days of each other to conduct some maintenance on the station's robotic arm, as well as perform some other tasks as well. Now, for this, the primary reason for these spacewalks, or rather the first one, which happened on Thursday, October 5th, was to replace a grapple fixture, or rather the hand, of the Canadarm2 robotic arm. Now, Canadarm actually has two of these hands, one on each end of the arm, so that it can grapple to a new location whenever they need to move the arm to accommodate certain movements or whatever activities they might be doing. Now, one of the latch mechanisms on these hands have failed a couple of times, and so the first spacewalk, which, as I said, happened on Thursday, was to replace the faulty one. This was done by astronauts Randy Bresnik, who you can see on the left, and Mark Vande Hei, who's on the right. Now, after finishing the replacement of the hand, the spacewalkers did a couple of more low-priority maintenance tasks before heading back inside and preparing for the next EVA 5 days later. Now, the second spacewalk, the primary goal for it was to actually lubricate the new hand as well as finish preparations for its usage. But there was a couple other tasks as well. Mark Vande Hei was using the lubrication gun to lube up a lot of the different screws and different attachment points to make sure that everything would run smoothly. And they also replaced cameras on the left side of the station's truss and the right side of the station, including a faulty HD camera, which provides views of docking and visiting vehicles that has broken down. So they replaced that one and tested out all of the new cameras and checked them all out. So they were able to do a couple of those other smaller tasks, like putting on some insulation on some handrail covers, and a couple of tasks that were actually scheduled for the next spacewalk as well. But it's really cool to see a lot of humans working in space so regularly and doing a lot of these activities around the space station. So hopefully we'll be able to get a lot more use out of this and see a lot more cool things in the future. So very cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. Thank you, Mike. Now, on our previous show, 10.38, we had a simulated Mars chat with Icarus 1. And if this and other lots of spacey things interest you, feel free to join us live every Saturday at 1800 UTC. We apparently were changing cameras. So there's that. It was like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Was that okay?
You recovered pretty well, though.
It was just
a
sort of
little
like,
rough, but I feel like we did it.
They're all kind of clustered a little bit, so it was a little bit worth of like the red light is here. Great, that's where we're gonna go. That's fantastic. I managed to see that out of the corner of my eye because I turned towards you and it was like, Falcon, there it is. All right, everyone was good with that? Yes, Dutta says yes. Well, Dutta gives me a thumbs up because his new talkie button is like 4 feet away from him.
It's all the way on the other side of the board. It's stupid.
You know what we should get you? You know the T-shirt
I need,
with
I need a pokey stick like that.
Yes,
like they've
that's
got
what I'm
in
saying. There's the
Soyuz controller.
The T-shirt of the dinosaur. It's
the
like
T-Rex with the little arms.
Yes.
Yeah, I need one of those. Just a little pokey stick.
Now I am unstoppable. One of those.
Yep. I've got to bend. Oh.
Dud are doing his crunches just to get the stupid microphone on.
I gotta. It's all the way over there.
It's all the way over there. Stupid.
All right, we got it already set for Jared.
J-Rod.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah.
Go
Now,
sit.
if you just kneel perfectly so you only cover up the mic part.
It looked like Mike's writing.
That's not what I meant,
Mike's
dude.
like, you're training, young Jedi.
No, I
It's
just
not
meant that
complete."
like you too could be.
I don't know.
Can't take you anywhere, man.
And then, Mike, you can have tankers on your back. And
Run, run, jump. I can be your backpack while you climb.
No, I like this.
Wait.
This is. I was kidding. Hold on. It's just.
hold on, let me lift the chair with my legs, not my back.
Right. Welcome to leg day. We got crunches. We got lifts. See, we could do tomorrow exercise. It's just.
What's up?
It's all the really crappy versions.
I lifted that and kept eye contact with Ben the whole time. So.
Well, anyway, guys, it's been a good show. It's been a good week. I'm gonna get going.
Totally.
But,
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Great job on the launches today. You did awesome.
Bye, Mike.
Oh, thanks. Tried to keep it short and sweet.
That was great.
All right, well, we'll see you later.
I keep looking at him like he can see me. Like wherever you move the TV, it's like obviously there's Mike. If you put the TV over here, there's Mike. Doesn't make any sense. I should just be looking at the camera because that's what he sees. What is happening?
What are you doing?
Why?
Why did you kill the magic like that? I can't.
Death to magic. Dead.
What are you doing?
Ben, you child.
This is magic.
This is not magic.
This is magical.
That's a button. Yeah, I'm magical. What do I tell you every freaking day of our lives?
Extreme close up.
See, I'm old enough to know Wayne's World.
God, you're old.
I'm older than you.
Hey, I'm younger than all of you, and I know it. So
that's weird. That can't be right.
That's bizarre.
Tomorrow now in 3D. No kidding. Jesus, ready yet? Are you?
That one's the one I'm talking into.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I can't. It's all right. It's okay. You're fine.
All right. Look here.
Nice.
So nice. Sorry, I didn't realize that was going to cause that sort of reaction.
It's Jared. What do you expect?
Might as well have just said pugs.
Oh, good one, Jedi. Make it last longer.
You can just do my part and I can do yours.
Okay.
I can read it live on air. It'll be really terrible, but it'll be awesome.
Okay. I'm trying to get my composure, but it's so difficult. I keep thinking about laughing, and that makes me laugh.
Right.
So.
I was going to say new shoes.
What?
I don't know. Something that wasn't laughing.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Ready? Citizen 94634 is like really confused right now. All right. So there's just a little bit more news that we didn't quite able to blah 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 blah. Gonna get there. So there's just a little bit more news that we weren't actually able to get to in our show. Jared, is there something about a missing universe? What is happening?
Yeah, apparently parts of the universe were missing, and I didn't know this. But there was a lot of headlines this week that said that missing parts of the universe discovered, and my heart kind of skipped a beat because I thought maybe this was direct detection of dark matter, you know, something that makes up the most of the universe that we have out there. But it turns out, if you actually went beyond the headline and read the actual articles, that we didn't discover the missing half of the universe per se. It's just that we found the missing parts of the baryonic matter of the universe, which is the matter that you and I and your computer and everything around you are made out of. Doing this survey, baryonic matter only makes up 4.6% of the known universe, so that means that we have actually found not the missing half of the universe, but the missing 2.3% of the universe. Now, computer modeling that we did of the universe suggested that half of that was missing, and we couldn't account for the discrepancy between what's observed in our universe and what's modeled in computers using the laws of physics that our universe are governed by. Now, does that mean that our physics is incorrect, or were we just looking in all the wrong places at the wrong wavelengths? Well, it turns out we were looking in the wrong places at the wrong wavelengths. So using a combination of data from the Sloan Digital Sky Survey, which this is the telescope that they use, which is one of the largest sky surveys anyone has ever done to actually find objects in the universe, and the European Space Agency Planck spacecraft, which looked at the cosmic microwave background radiation. They looked for the cosmic microwave background radiation filtering through these very diffuse filaments of energetic gas, so big streams of energetic gas that are linking a large number of galaxies. And they were able to actually detect these filaments of gas. Now, this was done by two teams, one at the Institute of Space Astrophysics in Orsay, France. The other was done at the University of Edinburgh. Now, they compared the missing matter, these filaments of gas, when they put them into the models, they fit those models perfectly. So there it is, just some ingenious combination of data to show phenomena, and voila, you've got clear evidence for structures that we didn't know existed and account for one of the largest problems in our current cosmological models of the universe. Now, a lot of people would suggest that our models of the universe are just plain wrong, and that things like proposed physics such as modified Newtonian gravity are what we should actually be using to investigate the universe. But the problem is we can do an entire TMRO episode dedicated to all of the problems with these fringe hypotheses when we observe the expected outcomes of these hypotheses in the universe itself. In other words, they don't work, but this one does. So there you go. We found it, we got it back, and we're very happy to have 2.3% of the universe that we were missing finally here.
All right. Well, thank you, Jared. Huh, who knew? In the previous show, 10.38, we had a simulated Mars conversation with Icarus 1. And if that and other spacey things interest you, feel free to join us live every Saturday at 1800 UTC. Yay! I'm just going to say yay to that.
That's over.
Because I just keep expecting people to tell me that I'm done. And then they don't say anything. Because apparently the button's too freaking far away!
That'll do, Carrie-Ann. That'll do.
Thank you. Yay. Icarus. No, not that Icarus. ICARES-1. It's like you guys know nothing. Yeah. Benjamin! Where did he go? Oh, I see what he's doing. Oh, you guys are going to be so excited for this. Yeah, some of us do have
Oh, here it comes.
Because some of us have to go to a wedding tomorrow.
Wow, look at this.
This is...
Well, it's amazing.
It's a monolith. That's all you get. Sorry about that. Oh my god. Thanks, Vanna. God, what is happening right now? What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh, I thought he was going to put it behind the set.
That's all he did. He literally wheeled it in here just to make 2 passes. So there it goes back, right where it belongs. So there we go.
Fucking hate him. And then he coughs. Did you hear him?
I did.
Yeah, I know. Wouldn't it be great if it was the Soma bar? It's not. Just an empty box. So crappy. Doesn't do anything yet until you put stuff in it, apparently.
It's just a battery sitting on the floor, too.
Yeah.
I got an update on the Soma bar.
You got, yeah, where are your heavy blankets?
That's an inside joke. All right.
Soma bar. This is how we get ants.
Do you want ants?
Do you want ants? This is how you get ants.
I'm taking photos and I'm going to throw them on Twitter if people want to see the lonely battery just sitting on the floor. So,
which is also how you get ants. Is that what we determined?
Yeah. Apparently.
Yeah.
All right, now we get
ants.
There it is.
All right.
It's right there.
So,
do you want ants? This is how we get ants.
Soma bar, because you all want to see, in addition to whatever it is that's going on now, you want to see me drunk, apparently. The Soma bar, are at the final validation test.
It's a final countdown.
Well, there are many different types of validation tests. So they're the final validation test of this last thing before they get into mass production and mass production validation before they then ship it out. So it sounds like possibly before the end of the year we will have our Soma bar, but I think it depends on whether they run into issues or not.
The only thing that's been taking longer than getting the Soma bar is Falcon Heavy. So.
Ooh, hey! Ooh, zinga, whoa! Virgin Galactic.
You have a good point there, too. Never mind. I stand corrected.
Wait, did you say Virgin Hyperloop?
Oh, yeah, that's the thing now. That's the thing now. Hey, look,
Did you see that?
I can be on your
I did
camera.
see that. You got to buy everything when you can, right? So.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
All right, are we finishing up?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
No, not Somavar. Soma
Bar.
bar with a B like boy.
Hey, where are heavy blankets?
Where are heavy blankets?
We also got gravity blankets on Kickstarter, and Kirian used to have this really nice, like, fairly heavy blanket that she loved, and she had it. I'm pretty sure she had it since she was 6, because that thing was destroyed.
I don't care.
It was not okay, and eventually I was like,
it was also like a twin size.
It was too small. It smelled bad.
It didn't smell bad.
It was. It was shattered and tattered, and so I'm like, you need to get rid of this blanket. It's gross, and I think I just threw it away without her knowing one day. I don't know. That would be a dickish thing I would do.
You wouldn't do that because my parents did that to me,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I
probably.
would divorce you
So
immediately.
got rid of the blanket.
On the spot with no question.
She's not joking.
Do you understand me?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good.
So she hasn't had this blanket for a long time, and she's doesn't like the current blankets we have, which are also starting to get kind of grody and need
I
to
mean,
go away.
I like them. They're down blankets.
Yeah,
so
they're very light.
they're
Like
too
there's
light.
no weight to them at all. They just make you stupid hot, and you're like, eh.
Isn't that what a blanket's supposed to do?
Not stupid hot.
Not stupid hot.
They're just supposed to keep you warm and comfy, not stupid hot, Jared.
Okay.
Keep up. Keep up.
Apparently, Jared likes to sleep in a sauna. I've learned.
Yeah, that's weird, Jared.
Oh,
Jared, that's weird.
Great. It's fantastic.
It's weird.
Weird.
So we're getting the gravity blankets, and she's super eager to get these blankets. And now the going joke, basically every night.
Did you see this? Go on, keep talking.
Yeah, I saw that. So
Is-
I thought for their group that studies black holes should be called arseholes. So.
Go on.
No, I mean that's the end of the story. Is that every night now, quite literally every night, I get a when do the heavy blankets come in? Every single day for like months now. When I get that, because we're going to bed. In the heavy blankets. Yeah. It's great. It's great.
Can you send that to me? I want to buy that. Oh, it's white. I can't wear it.
You can't wear it
on
here.
air. We should just tie dye it.
Just wash it with your red underoos and it'll be pink.
That's true.
Underoos don't bleed. How dare you? What did you do?
What was that?
Oh, you did it.
Oh, you know what? It might be.
MDF.
I have a little needle with
MDF.
mind control serum.
Gotcha. Well,
in
that I guess that explains all the bad decisions I made this week. So.
No, those were all you. That's why we've got the new serum.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha. We corrected that. Don't
show him. That way you can own it.
Actually, there was a picture. I want that one because that looks amazing.
It's pink. It doesn't look amazing. It's really hard to read. All right. Are we winding down? I think we're winding down. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, very much for watching. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Bye.